Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. My name is Dan, this is Exploder. We're in for another episode. Now this one, I want to talk about some of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time. Let's start with the really, let's call it a classic. The first time that Goldberg and Brock Lesnar met, or it's also known, Lockup City. WrestleMania 20 in 2004 was a historic event. One, because Eddie Guerrero, the late Eddie Guerrero, and the personification of evil, Chris Benoit, met in the final moments, celebrating both of their title wins. That was a great moment. Earlier in the card, you saw Goldberg, who had signed a year contract, thank God, and was on his way out of the company unhappy with a lot of things, mostly losing to Triple H. Brock Lesnar decided he didn't want to be a highly paid professional wrestler traveling the country anymore, and he wanted to be a lackluster football player for the Minnesota Vikings. It's always good to have dreams. The match was abysmal and mostly involved a lot of lockups and missed times and two guys that were phoning it in so bad they worked for AT&T, I'm pretty sure at some point. I could throw a Verizon joke in there, but either way. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the special referee, and the only pop of the night, the best pop of that entire match, was when Steve Austin stunned both of them. Thank God. There's not much else more to say about this match. It was just awful. That's all it is. From there, WrestleMania 27, the Eternal match, the match that went on forever. Oh my God. I'm pretty sure in some reality this match is still going on. Michael Cole, yes, that one, versus Jerry the King Lawler. For months, Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole have been going back and forth. Michael Cole was playing the heel announcer like only Michael Cole can, still saying vintage every time he breathed against Jerry Lawler. This match should not have gone as long as it did. WrestleMania 27, that saw the main event with The Miz and John Cena, with The Rock as a special enforcer, special referee, whatever you want to call it. This match alone went almost a half hour. Now think about that. Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole went almost a half hour. Threw in Jack Swagger. I don't care. It's a half hour of an announcer and a wrestler. Now Jerry Lawler is beyond his years, in his prime, but what he does, he can do really well. He can still do the pile driver really well, and people still react to it. But you know what? This wasn't the payoff. This wasn't the end of the angle either. The angle kept going. They had a half-hour match at WrestleMania between an announcer and a wrestler who's around retirement age, let's call it what it is. It went a half hour, and it still continued the angle. It didn't end until Jerry Lawler had a legitimate heart attack, and they slowly sort of eased Michael Cole back into the bland, boring, vintage Orton character that he is today. If that's not a bad match, I don't know what is. The blind leading the board, Jake Roberts versus Rick Martel, blindfold match, WrestleMania 7. Now, the lead up into this was really good. The lead up was amazing. There was a whole thing where Rick Martel, who was the model, had this aerator and it sprayed this perfume called Arrogance. And during the segment, he sprayed it into Jake Roberts' eye. And Jake Roberts, they had the milky white look to it. He'd gone blind in that eye. That was the whole gimmick. So they decide to even it up. They were both going to put on blindfolds and have a match. Now, a blindfold match to the angle made complete sense. The problem was a blindfold match is boring as hell. First of all, I'm going to expose something here. The bags on their heads, they can see. You can see. They're thin. You can see through them. You can't see on the outside because they're black, but the people inside can see out, especially with all the lights. But you have to pretend like you can't see. So you have to do the constant point and listen to the crowd. Point, listen to the crowd. Point, listen to the crowd. And then you have moments where you grab somebody who's clearly the referee because he's the only one in the ring wearing a shirt, and you go for a move on him, but it's not him. Like, oh, sorry. And then you get hit by the heel. Right? Stuff like that. And if you do that for 5 minutes, maybe, arguable. When you're at WrestleMania 7 and you're on TV and you're on pay-per-view and this is a big thing, the match came off as boring. I mean, the build-up was great, but execution just sucked. Also for WrestleMania 27, not a good one, The Big Show, Kane, Santino Marella, and Kofi Kingston versus The Core. First of all, raise your hands. Who remembers The Core? No one? Exactly. They were the members of the Nexus who went to SmackDown and threw on a new shirt, and they became The Core. CORRE, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Big Show, Kane, Santino Marella, and Kofi Kingston. Show me a more, just go ahead and show me a more random pairing of people. This was like before the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. They're like, oh, we got to get people on pay-per-view. WrestleMania. They just threw a team together. They cobbled it together. Like, the actual Frankenstein monster was less cobbled together match. Just putting that out there. Not much more to the stab of the story. It was a random collection of people. They all got their paydays, so, you know, good for them. And one of them's now mayor of a Tennessee town. So, America. WrestleMania 5. The Red Rooster versus Bobby the Brain Heenan. No, you didn't hear that wrong. Bobby Heenan in 1989 had a match with Terry Taylor. One man called himself a rooster, had a red mohawk, and did the cock-a-doodle-doo thing. The other was Bobby Heenan. Very good on the mic, but by this point, as a character, as a wrestler, was well beyond time he should have been in the ring. Now, this was you can call it a warm-up for the main event if you want. The world title that night was Randy Savage defending against Hulk Hogan in one of their first of 50,000 matches. The match happened when the Red Rooster, who used to be managed by Bobby Heenan, ran afoul of the Heenan family, and they finally settled it where the Rooster would face the Weasel. He wanted his revenge on Heenan for a loss to Tito Santana in January. The feud went really nowhere, and the match ended up ending in 31 seconds when Heenan hit his shoulder into a ring post and was pinned. That's it. That's the whole match. There were 14 matches on this show, and this had to be one of them. This was a TV segment at best. This was a pay-per-view WrestleMania 5 match. I don't even know what to say to that.
Our birthday cakes never get eaten either. It's newsflash. Last weekend was the much heralded All-In pay-per-view. Kenny Omega had a great match with Pentagon Jr., the Young Bucks did super kick, and Joey Ryan pissed off Jim Cornette. Former NWA champion and guy named Magnus, Nick Aldis, says he doesn't want to come to the WWE to be known as Mickie James' husband. If her track record shows anything, he won't have to worry about that long. Because tens of fans asked for it, the WWE is bringing back the Mixed Match Challenge. Teams for next season include Kevin Owens and Charlotte Flair, Finn Balor and Bayley, and Vince McMahon and more money. That's all for this time. Let's get back to the show.
The Big Boss Man, Virgil, Sergeant Slaughter, and Jim Duggan versus the Nasty Boys, the Mountie, and Repo Man from WrestleMania 8. I take back everything I said about the WrestleMania 27 match with the Core and Kofi, Santino, and all of it. I take that up. I take it back. This is the most random combination of people I've ever seen. This is like if you took this gimmick, the gimmick battle royal at WrestleMania 17 had less gimmicks than this match. You cobbled people together. You got a cop. Virgil was basically playing a boxer at the time, because people didn't realize how bad he sucked yet. Sergeant Slaughter, Jim Duggan, then the Nasty Boys, a Canadian Mountie, and a guy who repossesses things. You threw him in an 8-man tag. You had Ray Combs from Family Feud doing the announcing. All right. And yeah, the main event that let's also talk about the drop for Sergeant Slaughter. Sergeant Slaughter main evented WrestleMania 7 with Hulk Hogan. Yeah, he lost Hulk Hogan, but everyone did. He went from the main event of WrestleMania 7 to being in this 8-man cluster cluck at WrestleMania 8. If that tells you anything about that. This disaster lasted about 6 minutes, and it's good. And that's a good thing. And it's not so much the talent. There were some really talented people in that, except for the Nasty Boys and Virgil. But everyone else was pretty cool, and they were really good talent, but it was just thrown in. Again, this was another one that it was on, but you're not sure why. You're not sure why they put it together that way, and it just came off as flat, and they treated the whole thing as a comedy bit, and it lasted 6 minutes. It was 8 men, and it lasted 6 minutes. So, that's just awful stat. Then a classic from WrestleMania 3. You remember WrestleMania 3, the one who held the indoor attendance record for all those years. Hillbilly Jim, the Haiti Kid, and Little Beaver, that was their names, versus King Kong Bundy, Lord Littlebrook, and Little Tokyo. So this was a hillbilly and 2 little people versus a giant bald egg person and 2 little people. King Kong Bundy is another one who dropped. He went from being the main event at WrestleMania 2 against Hulk Hogan in a cage, he lost, of course he did, to a 6-man mixed tag match circus with 2 little people on each side. It was the 3rd match on the card, and it wasn't a WrestleMania worthy match. It was good. Honestly, for the little guy, for Littlebrook, Tokyo, Haiti Kid, and Little Beaver, it was a great payday. I'm sure it was. It was their chance to be at WrestleMania. That's awesome for them. However, this was by no means a WrestleMania worthy match. Again, it seemed like it was just cobbled together. And the biggest part of the whole thing was when King Kong Bundy, who was at that point 450 pounds, slammed Little Beaver, who I'm pretty sure was the size of one of his bowel movements before the match, and then dropped a giant elbow on him. And to a regular person, a 450-pound bald egg man falling on top of you hurts. On a little person, he about killed him. And this WrestleMania 3 had one of the best cards in the entire WrestleMania run. A great card. You had Roddy Piper and Adrian Adonis. You had, of course, you had Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage. The main event, while not a great match, was a great drawing match with Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. And this match, with a hillbilly and 2 little people, and a Humpty Dumpty and 2 little people, went 3.5 minutes and ended with a giant beating up a little person. WrestleMania. Then we're back to WrestleMania 7 with Jinkiro Tenryu and Koji Katao versus Demolition. This version of Crush and Smash. If you don't remember this match, don't worry, not many people do, nor should they. It's a real head scratcher why they would throw these 2 basically unknown Japanese wrestlers, specifically in the United States, into a match at WrestleMania against Demolition. And Tenryu and Katao got the win. Now they weren't talented guys. Well, Katal sucked, but Tenryu was a talented guy. And there was a deal. I remember there was a deal with the SWS in Japan at the time, and it was some cross-promotional deal. And I know the WWF sent some guys, their guys over, Big Boss Man and Earthquake, and so on and so forth. Earthquake, by the way, would later get into a legitimate shoot fight with Katal and beat the living tar out of him. So that went well for Katal. But again, this match went 4.5 minutes. Went 4 minutes 44 seconds. This could have been a dark. I'm not saying they shouldn't have had this match. I understand it could have been a dark match. This could have been a dark match before the show. No harm done. This was 4 minutes in the middle of the card of 15 matches, by the way. Again, another 15-match card with this random tag match thrown in the middle where Katal and Tenryu won. So they beat Demolition. If that did not tell you the end of Demolition was at hand, I don't know what does. Now let's look at a new one. Wrestlemania 10, Madison Square Garden, Earthquake versus Atom Bomb. On a show where a 10-man tag match, which was another random cluster, where a 10-man tag match was cut for time due to some pretty awesome matches before it running too long. Basically, the Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon ladder match went too long, which cut into Randy Savage versus Crush in their, I don't know, Texas death match, last man standing. I don't know what it was. But basically, this 10-man tag didn't happen. This match still did. Earthquake versus Atom Bomb. John Tenta versus Brian Clark. The Future Shark versus the Future Wrath. The time machine that could have been used there. This was less a match and more of a confusing segment, as it lasted less than a minute and somehow ended with Earthquake pinning Atom Bomb in just over 30 seconds. This time, of course, is approximate because it's hard to tell the pre-match shenanigans, which was Bomb's manager Harvey Whippleman, remember him, threatening Howard Finkel, and then the match begins. When Whippleman and Finkel stuff ended and the match began, it's questionable. We've actually spent more time talking about this match than the match actually used to happen. So, progress. I don't know. The best part is the entire match didn't matter. It was a 30-second match. It didn't matter because Earthquake would eventually leave for WCW shortly after this, joining the Hogan train. I'm not saying the 10-man tag would have been better. I mean, I could almost guarantee it wouldn't. But for crying out loud, if you're going to cut that match, why don't you just cut this? It was 30 seconds, and it was a guy who was about to leave the company anyway. And to be fair, Atom Bomb had a little bit longer left, but he was gonna go too. Like, really? What was the point of this? What was the point of this random 30-second match? I'm sorry, was there no more commercials for merchandise you could throw up there? Makes no sense. Ryback versus Mark Henry. I'm just gonna let that sit there. So what are some of your favorite WrestleMania matches? And what kind of WrestleMania matches did you watch that you just did not like? That's all I'm asking. That's what I want to know. I want to know some of the matches that you didn't like, some things that you didn't enjoy. What are your worst WrestleMania matches? If you have any, put it in the comments, send me a message, whatever. Get a hold of me and let me know what you think. Well, that's going to do it for this time. Until next time, my name's Dan. This is Exploder. Have a good one.